Welcome back, Shop Rats. Today we're back on the 86 Dodge pickup. Can we paint this truck for under $500? We're well on our way. Today we're going to blow color on the inside of these doors, getting ready to bolt them back on the truck so we can get this cab painted. Let's see how much we can accomplish today. Remember, on this channel, it's not about the accomplishment as much as it is about just dropping stuff all over the place, apparently, but also it's about spending the day here with me in the shop. So come on in, let's get after it. And would somebody please flip the compressor on?
This is My Cars Shop.
We've gone over everything with the Scotch-Brite, so now we're going to run some paint prep over it. Make sure that everything's degreased and ready to rock and roll here. As always, I've said before, never put your rag over the nozzle of the can because you'll wash contaminants back in. Pour it on the rag. The whole goal with the Scotch-Briting here was just to break any surface glaze that might be on this primer so that you get good adherence with this paint. When I talked to my paint rep from this company, he said it sticks pretty good, and so far my experience bears witness to that. But he said, if the primer has any shine to it at all, then it's not going to, it could possibly peel. So there's two factors in paint adhesion. That's a big word like gymnasium. Obviously, surface prep is one of those factors. The other one, and we've mentioned this before, but we have so many new viewers on the channel that I wanted to mention it again. The other one is not putting the product on wet enough. This is particularly a problem that you run into with rattle can stuff because people tend to they tend to not put it on very heavy. And then they wonder why it doesn't stick and why it peels. That's because it's not put on wet enough so that it can chemically do what it's supposed to do to get that paint to bite into the surface that it's being sprayed onto. So that's obviously something to be aware of. And of course, contaminants also on the surface will make a difference. But if you have a good clean surface, even if it's got some shine to it, if that paint has a good chemical consistency, let's say, and you get it on wet enough, chances are it's going to stick pretty well. I did forget that we need to put this in the shaker for a little while, so let's do that right now. Other thing we need to do is make sure that our gun is good and clean and ready to go for the day. Cleaned it up good when we were done with it last time, but apparently not good enough because my top won't come off. Got some residue in there we need to clean up. We'll get that done. If you remember in the last episode that we sprayed this, we learned that it works best without reducing. Temperature-wise, we're pretty good in here today. But we're going to use straight. And the nice thing about using straight is where we're using mixed paint, we can't put it back in the can because most modern paints have hardeners and all kinds of other things in them. This doesn't. So literally what I don't use in the cup can go right back in the can with no problem. So I'm really liking that aspect. of this material. It's going to take a hot minute for that to drain through the filter and get into our cup. Let's bring it up here where it's supposed to be. There we go. So that way when the paint comes up higher, it's still able to drain, because if this is down in there and the paint level gets up high enough, it can't drain. So that's what this little thing is for. Okay, let's we already punched holes in our paint lid. Not our paint lid, but in our paint rim on the can, so that's dripping back in nicely. And we'll let that drip into the cup, and we'll be ready to spray this in just a couple minutes. We've got our first coat on. It's just a glue coat. We'll probably only need 2 coats on this. I got the exhaust fan going to air it out. I did go ahead and fire the furnace up because it's only about 65 in here, and I want it to be 70, 75. So we'll let the temperature come up, and we should be in good shape. So I forget that it's warmer outside sometimes than it is in the shop. But overall, good. Filling the cup up again. We used about half of what I put in there. I had about 2/3 of a cup. I'm going to be opening the gun up more on this next coat, so I want to be sure that we have plenty of material, so I don't have to stop, mid-spray and add more paint to it. So we'll set a timer here and come back out in about 30 minutes and see where we're at. I checked the spot in here. Some of it's already dry to the touch. So obviously there's spots I have it on heavier than other spots. Yeah, it's a little bit, but it's drying pretty good today. So that's overall, I'm really happy. So we'll get that temperature up even more, and then we'll be able to open the floodgates on the next coat. That's all we should need on this is 2 coats. And on the outside of the truck, we may do 3. We're not doing the outside of the truck today, so we'll figure that out when we get there. Something I struggled with last time between coats was the tip of the gun kept drying out and plugging up between coats. I probably said that, but anyway, I decided to go ahead and wrap it with a wet paper towel this time to see if that will solve that problem. So it should, to keep that paint moist so it doesn't congeal, because it's not a hardened paint. So as long as there's moisture there, it shouldn't be drying. I think everything looks real good, nice and dry. So I think we're ready to hit it one more time. It's really got a, I mean, it's not a super glossy finish on this paint, and some of that might be because I'm not, flooding it on there a lot, but it's almost a satiny white, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it a lot. As I gain more experience with this paint, of course, we'll know better. But we're going to go ahead and get a good heavy wet coat on this now, and that should do it. We should have everything covered, and we'll see where we're at here in about 5 minutes after I get everything put on there. So I think it turned out really good. Let's see that I missed anything. I really flooded it on there, so hopefully no runs. Don't see any. Still getting used to the product, so who knows. But of course, on these flat surfaces where I put it on the heaviest, I'm not worried it won't run there. But yeah, so now we just let it dry for as long as it takes. But it's, it's an inside of a door, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But I think it looks really respectable. I can see I got a couple little dry spray spots, but again, it's the inside of the door. Um, it's a great opportunity to really get familiar with the product and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's sticky already, so that's good. The shop temperature is about 75 right now. So I'm going to clear out of here. I had about 3/4 of my cup full. I used probably half. So it's the biggest orifice I have in the gun, but I think it's a good one. We're obviously getting a bunch of dirt and dust in it. It's the way it's going to be. It's unfortunate, but it's white, so that's the nice thing, is it's going to hide really well, and it's going to look really respectable. So pleased with it. And I haven't done anything to kill dust in here. I didn't really blow anything out because I knew we were only doing door jambs and then insides of the doors. So when we do the truck proper, we will do a much better job of getting things cleaned up and wetting the floor down, and we won't have as much air movement in here and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, we'll be back in 20 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes, whatever, and we'll do a wrap up on this. For you, it'll be just about. Well, I think it turned out pretty good. This one's definitely got a little more shine than that one does. I flooded this one a lot heavier. There's a little more dirt in this one. You can't see it unless you really get down and look. It's an inside of a door, so I'm not worried about it. But again, it's a little bit of a learning curve for what I'm going to be doing on the truck. So yeah, the question I know that I asked my rep was if this could be like sanded and polished. I'm not sure that it can be. So that's going to be the downside of this material. If this was even a hardened acrylic enamel, um, we could color sand and buff this out. But what we're going to get with this is what we're going to get. And that is going to be the downside to painting in this 100-year-old building. Um, with more modern, I don't say this isn't modern because it is, but with the base coat, clear coats, and hardened enamels, and even with lacquers, if you get some stuff in it when you're painting in a not perfect environment, you just sand it out and buff it. It's not that big a deal. I'm not saying we can't do that on this. I'm just not sure. So we may do a test panel sometime and just see if that's possible. Um, but overall, it turns out pretty good, and I'm happy with it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Next step now on this will be, once these are dry in a few days, I think Becky's going to give me a hand. We talked about it yesterday. We're going to take this and get those doors bolted onto the truck. So that's pretty exciting. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. Like, share. Share the video with, if you're in different pages on social media, stuff like that. We sure would appreciate it. The channel's growing wonderfully, and we're just starting to do the things that we're going to do here on the channel. We're around 500 episodes now, 4th season for the show, but we've only just begun. All right, that'll do it. We will catch you on the next one. You didn't think I forgot, did you? Rah!